This episode of the Carolina Sports Guy, going to kind of give you a little bit about who I root for, who I like. Hey, no doubt about it, I'm a Carolina guy, but where would I rank my favorite to least favorite of all the Carolina sports? If you're not a subscriber of the Carolina Sports Guy, please subscribe. Doesn't cost anything, folks. Pound that like button. Let me know that you like this content. Leave some comments. Let me know, let Uncle Chucky know what you like about these videos, what you don't like, what you'd like to see in future episodes. Hit the bell notification so you can be notified when I'm putting out other content like today's video. Alright, YouTube friends and family, this episode of the Carolina Sports Guy, I kind of got me thinking as I'm doing these videos and starting this channel, where is my love? What do I get excited about the most? Which team brings out the most passion? And I really had to think, it's not hard for me to list number one. Of course, I'm wearing the jersey. But as I get down, if I'm covering all these sports from the major colleges all the way down, where am I going to rank my list of love all the way down to the bottom? Well, there's no doubt about it, folks. My number one love is the Carolina Panthers. Not only is watching every Carolina Panther game a necessity, breaking down the film, breaking down the plays, highlight videos, being on weekly shows, calling in to the C3 podcast, following Rashad and Dave on the Panther Nation podcast, Pantherology. Some of these shows I really like to follow. Keep Pounding TV with the P-Cat. Just a lot of guys out there, and One Carolina. Just many guys out there I like to follow. But anyway, the Carolina Panthers, every game is so critical. We're going to 17-game season now, 16 games. Every loss feels like a death. Every win feels like a celebration. And it's not just that, folks. I follow the 53-man training camp, getting down who we're going to keep, who we're going to cut, who we're going to sign, free agency, the draft, not only watching the first round, watching all 7 rounds, following the undrafted free agents who's going to get picked up. So I'm diehard Carolina Panther guy. Number 2, Carolina Hurricanes. Since they came to the state of North Carolina, going to Greensboro in 1997, going to Raleigh a couple of years later, Carolina Hurricanes, there's nothing like hockey. And I know I'm a Southern guy, but I love the sport. If you've never been to a live game, once you go to a live game and catch on and you start watching on TV, heart just beats and races, especially when you get to the playoffs, how important these games are. Of course, 82-game season, you can get worn down, and if you end up in a 4-game losing streak, it can kind of get demoralizing, depressing. I've walked away from the game once in a while in the middle of a game because I thought I was bad luck or don't see us coming back, but I sneak back in and check the score, and if we're winning, I follow, and if we're losing, I'm disgusted, but I always keep up with them. I love my Carolina Hurricanes, very important to me, and they brought me my one major championship to the Carolina professional teams. So that's very critical for me, and I love the players. I just love the action. Now, third, a little controversy, because I don't wear the clothing a lot. Personally, I'm a grad. I went to East Carolina, an alum, and some people I graduated with would frown on me saying this, but growing up, and it's still the case to a point, I'm not as diehard as I was, but it used to be a point in time, man. When I was a kid, I'd cry if they lost. And that's North Carolina Tar Heel basketball. Used to like the football when I was a kid growing up, but normally it's Tar Heel basketball, from the recruitment to the ACC tournament, getting into the NCAA tournament. And it's not just being a fair weather fan and following when they get to the Final Four and win, but just the history of the players who played at the university. That's probably going to be my third biggest love. Fourth, well, because I'm an alum, East Carolina Pirates. Basketball has not been kind over the years, and I'd like to see when they win, and I do follow, but it's mainly football. And even though that's suffered as much of late, East Carolina football has really given me a lot of proud moments. And a team I follow so much and keep a lot of vested interest in. Of course, our baseball team has always been pretty good as well. And they've really been the one that's been the most consistent sport. And there's a lot of pride there, and coming out of Greenville for me. Next would be the Charlotte Hornets. And I know, okay, how come I don't have the Hornets rated higher? The Hornets would probably be, and when they started out, they were right up there before the Panthers were a team and the Hurricanes. They were right up there behind the Tar Heels for me as far as my following. When they win, yeah, they're up there. And then they had a lot of games this year, excitement of LaMelo Ball and winning, and we were fourth place at one time during the season. Very exciting. But the problem is we lost the franchise at one time to New Orleans, and we get the Bobcats, and then we get rebranded to Hornets again. Just in 30-year history, it's just been more mediocre and bad seasons. That's not to say I'm not a fan. I follow the team. I love them. But if they're playing the same times on the Hurricanes, the way the Hurricanes play, I'm normally going to watch the Hurricane game. But now if the Hurricanes are struggling and the Hornets are on a hot streak, I'm going to follow the Hornet game. But normally it's me going back and forth between the game on one TV and the other game on the other, following the phone, whichever one I'm watching with the other team. So it's just great big love there for the Charlotte Hornets. Now, I will put in a little slide here. If we ever get a Major League Baseball team in the Carolinas, I would place them right below the Hornets. Now, could they not move up? Hey, they could move up as high as the third spot behind the Panthers and Hurricanes. 162 games is a lot, and being that they'd be on all the time, sure, you'd have a big following. Who's your starting five pitchers? Who's your, if you have a designated hitter, who's your best defensive shortstop? Who's your home run leader? How many games are we out of first place? Nothing like a good hot dog and a beer watching a baseball game. Right now, though, if we had a major league team, the focus, because of the expansion relocation, to be high. But I'd say after it leveled off, I would place them right underneath the Hornets as who I'd probably follow the most next. After that, I'd say Wake Forest. Wake Forest in all sports, yeah, I know. How can you like Wake Forest and like UNC basketball? I just do. I like the school. It's a good private school. I even remember the year the Tar Heels won the national championship with Jordan as a freshman in '82. Tar Heels lost 2 games that year. They were 32-2 and won it all when they beat Georgetown. They got beat by 30-some points by Rouse Sampson of Virginia, and I couldn't stand Virginia. Never have liked Virginia. But they also lost to Wake Forest by 7 in the game Sam Perkins had the flu and didn't play in. I think it would have made a difference. But Virginia, never have liked Virginia. But they also lost to Wake Forest by 7 in the game Sam Perkins had the flu and didn't play in. I think it would have made a difference. But I've always, if Carolina, if the Tar Heels aren't in the ACC and doing well, I've always rooted for Wake Forest. If Carolina can't win the ACC, I'll root for Wake Forest. It's a good school, good football school. I like Wake Forest overall as a university. And if I had my druthers and would have studied hard and say, hey, what college or university you want to go to? Well, I went to ECU. I prefer to go to UNC Chapel Hill, like that school. But I'd say if you were going to pay my way, I'd want to be a graduate of Wake Forest University. Just have a lot of respect for the school. I love the logo, the colors, and just them being an underdog. Now, after that, who would I say next? Next would probably be someone that hadn't even played a game yet. I like soccer. I love when the World Cup's going on. I love some college soccer. MLS, I keep up with a little bit. But being that Dave Tepper, Carolina Panthers owner, has purchased Charlotte FC, and now the Carolinas are going to have Major League Soccer, so I'm going to put them here. Never probably going to rise to the level of the Panthers, the Hurricanes, even the Hornets, but I'm definitely going to follow, want them to win, and if they have a good season, or if they do like Atlanta United did and win it all, probably going to have them up here for a while and rank them pretty high, and I will put out content once they start playing in 2022. Now here's where we get down to, I wouldn't say I'm not a fan of, but I don't follow them on an everyday basis. And that would be Appalachian State. I had a son that went to Appalachian State. I like the school. It's an underdog school. I'll root for them in the Sun Belt, and we'll leave it at that. If they're not playing East Carolina or the ACC schools, I'll root for Appalachian State, follow them a little bit. Next, UNC Charlotte, playing in Conference USA in football, and I'm right down the road, an hour from Norfolk and Old Dominion University there in Conference USA. But I'd say, of course, UNC Charlotte's the team I follow in Conference USA. Although I don't follow religiously, I will root for them if they're in a major situation playing sports. Next would probably be NC State. I got a father-in-law that's an NC State fan. My brother, for a while before he became a Tar Heel fan when we were younger, was an NC State fan with David Thompson back in '74 when they won the NCAA championship. I remember the '83 team with Jim Valvano as head coach. When NC State's good, don't like them too much because of Tar Heels and Wake Forest and just how they are. And even being a grad of East Carolina, we looked at NC State as being Moo U. But I do have respect for them, and I know they've been down and out, but they put out some good football talent. Love to see them play well again in basketball. But I don't hate them, but I definitely would put them at this level where I'd root for them. Like if they were in the Final Four and no other Carolina school was there, I'm definitely wanting them to win. I just think it's a good notoriety for the Carolinas if they did. Next would be Coastal Carolina. Yeah, I'm not going to root for them against Appalachian State, but I like to see an underdog, and being there in the Carolinas around that Myrtle Beach area, I'm going to pull for them. Now, you're probably telling me, what about South Carolina Clemson? You put out a video. Well, I like both schools, but, there's so many colleges you can root for. I say South Carolina be next because I don't have a dog in the fight in the SEC. I would probably pull for them over Clemson, but it's nip and tuck. I don't have a problem whoever wins that game. I just would probably hate South Carolina less, being they don't play the Tar Heels or Wake Forest or East Carolina as much. Clemson's going to play Wake Forest and North Carolina every year, so that's why Clemson gets bumped a little down from those schools, from South Carolina. And then we're going to have, I'd say, Davidson. Now, Davidson I could put higher, but being there's only Atlantic 10 basketball, yeah, I will root for them over anybody they play in the Atlantic 10, and if they get into tournament. And, of course, Steph Curry went there. But I can't really root for Davidson if they play one of the other Carolina schools, although I'm not going to be terribly disappointed if they were to win. Then Duke. Now you say, Duke, you got Duke way down here, yeah. I will, unlike a lot of Tar Heel fans, even some East Carolina fans, I will root for Duke if they're playing in the national championship or the Final Four and it's out of conference, like they're playing Kansas or they're playing Syracuse, well, even Syracuse, or they're playing Texas, or they're playing Florida, or they're playing, Georgetown. I'm rooting for Duke because it's good notoriety for the state of North Carolina. But if they're playing North Carolina, or they're playing Wake Forest, or even East Carolina, even to a point Clemson, I might root for Duke over them. But I'm putting them down here because the level of hate when they play the schools I like is down here. But if they make it and they're not playing one of my other schools, I kind of want them to win. It's just, like I said, it's good notoriety for the state. And finally, well, it's going to be NASCAR. I'm not a NASCAR fan. I don't hate NASCAR. I've been to NASCAR. I've got one brother who passed away was a huge NASCAR fan. I got another brother who loves, and he's been, and he used to go to Charlotte all the time, and I used to go to Rockingham when that was available, and Darlington. My oldest brother went to Darlington, and then of course North Wilkesboro, the small track races in Carolina, and the Hall of Fame's in Charlotte. And I might end up doing videos about the old North Wilkesboro track or Darlington, or maybe I'll do one about, the Rockingham, or just the importance of the All-Star race and the race at Charlotte and the history of NASCAR and the Hall of Fame. But other than that, I really won't put out much NASCAR content. Now, saying this, leave me a comment. Let me know who you like. Let me know what sports you follow the most. Which ones maybe you hate. Maybe you hate, number one, the Panthers the most. Maybe you root for some of these schools and you root for Carolina, but you can't root for Duke, or you root for Duke and you can't root for Clemson, or whatever it might be. Just let me know. Leave me some comments. Give me the big thumbs up. Let me know that you like content like today's video. Hit that bell notification to be notified of other videos like this. And by all means, subscribe. It's free, folks. And we'll see you next time on the Carolina Sports Guy.